And it's interesting because I think that this whole idea of AI taking everybody's jobs, I think a year ago, right, that was the big fear. Everybody's jobs going away. Now, the recent soundbite is no, AI is not going to take your job. Somebody who knows AI is going to take your job. And what I liked throughout the book was a couple of things is this idea of bottoms up, right? Giving more autonomy and data to the tentacles, right? To the people who are doing the role and giving them that information. And then this reimagining of the middle manager, which I think most assumed would be a role that would go away to flatten the organization. So I'd like to start first with the bottoms up, right? And a lot of people, I think, in roles that I've worked for or worked with or have worked for me, I think about context, right? So we have a lot of data. We're going to now give you this data that used to be in all these different places. How do you think, from a bottoms up, those individuals should rethink about their job in terms of context? Because the people up here making decisions see a broader vision, right? Somebody within the marketing organization, let's say a marketing analyst, may not see that larger vision. But now we're enabling them through AI to see so much more of the organization and even their customers, right? We're bringing all this data in. Talk to me a little bit about how you think those people should think about the skills they should acquire and the role they should start playing in the future.
So people have been talking about devolving authority in organization since at least the 1980s. Tom Peters and Search of Excellence, that sort of stuff. And yet they didn't really do it. And they didn't do it for a few reasons. They worried that people didn't have the contextual information, like you're talking about. They didn't have the experience base to use that information appropriately. And there weren't checks on what they might do. So if they go and they do something wild, there was no way to catch it before it was too late. AI changes all of that. It gives people the data, it gives people an experience base to assess the data, and it can flag what is and isn't permissible for folks to do.
That's a
So
good point.
now we can actually devolve that authority to the front line. Now, what that means for people at the front line is that they need to be good at interpreting what's given to them. Think a little critically about, does that make sense? So we don't just go and do some wild stuff because the computer said so. And they really need to excel at the human element of their jobs, which is often a human relationship, but it can also be just querying, as middle managers are going to have to do as well. AI use is like a dance. I mean, you can dance pretty well individually, or at least, well, maybe you can. I can't. But some folks can. But a dance is even better when it's two people. There's an elegance to it. And it's sort of like that with using AI. You got to like team with it and not just take the answer mutely and go operate. Really query it and understand what is the best answer. So it does require a little bit of critical thinking and dialogue with the AI system.
Do you think that now changes, or let me ask it a different way. Do you think the pace of organizational education, whether that be a formal education of 4 years in college coming into the workforce, or somebody like me who's much older, who's been in the workforce a lot of years, how do you think either corporations have a duty to re-educate around some of the things you talked about, or individually educate? And how is this changing kind of how we look at roles and jobs? Because the jobs to be done is going to be different. There's no other way to say it. Like, but it also means that, do we look really differently at the skills we're hiring for, and does our current workforce, or even the workforce we're training today, have those skills?
I was having a conversation just this morning with an HR exec at a very big organization, tens of thousands of employees. And she had exactly those questions. What do we need to do to transform this organization? I think there's actually a very hopeful answer here, which is that you don't pluck people from school who have the AI skill set. Can have a lot of people learn what they need to learn. You don't need to have a computer science degree in order to do this. You just need to be able to manage some change. Change is going to happen in a lot of places, but AI is not typically very hard to use. So if we give people the tools and give them a little bit of training, give them practice, give them time to come up the learning curve and a phased transition into new ways of working, I don't think we need to massively reskill or train a user base. It's more about getting everybody involved in learning together and changing together.